school board member pursuant to NJSA 18A:
Hold on, Elijah.
12-.
This should be done when the meeting opens. So
You
for the
can't
record,
open, you can't open a meeting with 4 people.
you can't give him oath. He's not even on the record.
Well, he is going to be on record. Right now, you don't have a quorum. You don't have a quorum. Mr.
Jim, please. Who's in charge?
You need 5 for a quorum. He can be sworn in. It doesn't have to be at a public meeting. He can be sworn in. So in order to open the meeting, we have to have him sworn in so we have a quorum, then we can conduct the business
But
of the
wait a
meeting.
minute, if he's sworn in, we still don't have a quorum, how's he going to sit at the board?
Well, we won't have a meeting if we don't have 5, but we will have 5 with him.
It's 4.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're going to swear him in, he'll be number 5.
Yes.
Never mind, we got it. Let's open the meeting. Let's open the
Do we,
meeting.
Oh, you have the
We don't have
meeting.
to
You
open
have
the
5 now.
Right, so let's open the meeting.
No,
Put it on record.
no. Excuse me, Mr. Tompkins, you can continue on doing what you're doing.
No, we have 5. Let's open the meeting and let's put it in the meeting.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
She runs the meeting, I don't, sir.
She doesn't run the meeting. This is a board. Let's open the meeting.
Excuse me.
It's 10 after 5.
Go ahead, Mr. Tompkins.
No, that's out of line. You out of line.
No, you're out of
Let's
line.
open the meeting.
Excuse, you know what? I'm
Let's
not going to
open
do
the
this
meeting.
tonight. I'll
Let's
get 'em
open
on
the meeting.
phone.
Let's open the meeting. It's 5, a meeting should have been open at 5 o'clock. We have a 5th board member here. Let's open the meeting. This all has to be on record. Board President, you don't have a right to say that. Take a poll from the board. Do we want them to do it now, or do we want to open the meeting? Take the poll. Madam
Carroll.
President, take the poll. This is a board meeting. This is not a president's meeting. I'm asking you to open the meeting.
Go ahead, Mr. Tompkins.
I'm asking you to open the
proceed
meeting.
with the swearing.
Madam President, if you want to poll the board to say it's okay to do this, we do it. But poll the board. But let's open the meeting.
Mr. Norris? Mr. Norris, I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people, so help me God. I state your name.
Richard Norris.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education, and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1, nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJS 18A:12-1, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties that of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
I do.
Mr. Norris, I need you to sign. Right. Brand new. Sorry. That's all right. Mr. Norris, please sign. This is the receipt code of ethics for school board members. I need you to sign there. Yes. Congratulations, Mr. Norris.
Name tag's over here.
Yeah, you're right there. All right, thank you.
Elijah, just let me know when you're ready.
Give me a second.
Okay.
Madam President, the time is now 5:14.
Good evening, everyone. This is to advise those present at this January the 15th, 2019 regular board workshop / action meeting of the Board of Education of the City of Pleasantville in the County of Atlantic. The notice was given on January the 4th, 2019 of the 2018 revised annual designation of the regular monthly board meetings. As required by the provisions of Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975, notice thereof has been distributed for publication in the press, the Absecon/Pleasantville Current, and the Mainland Journal, posted in the Administration Building and forwarded to the City Clerk of the City of Pleasantville within time required by said act. Roll call, Mr. Tompkins.
Mr. Norris?
Present.
Mr. Barkley?
Present.
Ms. Couch? Ms. Morgan? Mr. Page?
Here.
Ms. Thomas?
Here. For the record, Mr. Callaway isn't here due to a conflict in his job schedule. Ms. Mello is not here due to her being out of the state, and Ms. Clemens isn't here due to a family emergency. All right, Mr. Tompkins. Please stand for the flag salute and a moment of silence. Please be seated. Do we have voices of the children tonight? Okay. Mr. Tompkins, no voices of the children tonight.
What was that? Madam President, what did you say?
We do not have voices of the children tonight.
Oh, and what school were they coming from?
Huh? There wasn't a schedule for any particular school.
Do we know what
Want to
school?
start
it was?
off with the superintendent?
Madam President, do we know what school? Dr. Austin, do we know what school?
Oh, you didn't hear what I said?
No, I didn't hear what you said.
There's no particular school. There's no schedule for any particular school.
So how,
That, we don't have voices of the children tonight.
so how do we know who?
We don't have it tonight. So you want to start off with the superintendent report?
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, board members, wanted to give you a little update on some information pertaining to the schools, particularly with facilities matters. One, that there's been a lot of questions about the elevator at the middle school, and our latest information is that the elevator has been repaired. However, we have to wait for the State Department to send inspectors so that they'll make sure that everything is right. So that's what we're waiting for now. Also, I mentioned, I think a couple of meetings ago, that Lees Avenue and North Main Street School will be receiving, or at least they need, HVAC systems to replace for heating and for air conditioning. We now have temporary units in those schools. Leeds Avenue is scheduled to begin as soon as we have approval for the funding, and we're hoping that that will be very soon. However, it looks as if from the time frame when the work can begin and when it is scheduled to be completed, that neither one of those schools will be available for summer programs. So we are making some temporary contingency plans to have summer programs among the other schools. So Leeds Avenue and North Main, at this time, we don't anticipate being able to use them, but we are hoping that the work will be finished and we will be able to use them in September. That is, that's our hope. Also, related to that, the School Development Authority is, of course, the agency of the Department of Education, which provides funding for different projects. So we're waiting to hear whether or not, once we've submitted our application and we have a few more documents to submit to them, that they will make a decision in our favor to fund that particular project. There is a team of members from the State Department, that SDA, which is coming to visit us on March the 29th, and they will visit the schools and look at our various needs. And again, we're hoping that they will rule in favor of supporting those particular projects. What did I say? Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. It's actually January 29th. I said March, so it's January 29th. Hopefully by then, definitely everything will be completed. Okay. The other thing I'd like to do, January of each year is actually considered and recognized as Board Appreciation Month. And where I come from in the South, we're told that whenever anyone does anything to try to help you or support you, should always try to say thank you. And so tonight, as part of my report, Madam President and other board members, with your permission, just want to express to you appreciation on behalf of the students and staff that the time that you give, you know that you are not paid for it, you're selfless with it, and it's appropriate to sometimes just acknowledge all of the time you put in. Regardless of sometimes differences of opinion, you still make that dedication. So I'm going to have our Assistant VA to assist me in presenting you with some acknowledgement of certificates of appreciation. You have their names? Okay. I'll call the names. Okay. Mr. Barclay. And Mr. Calloway is not here. Mrs. Clemens is not here. Mrs. Couch. Ms. Mello is not here. Ms. Morgan. Mr. Norris, we did not have one prepared for you, but we certainly will make sure you get it. Mr. Page. And Ms. Carla Thomas. Again, thank you very much for the support that you demonstrate to the students and to the district. That's all I have tonight.
Madam President, I have a question for the report. Dr. Austin.
Go ahead, Mr. Page.
Dr. Austin, you first mentioned about the elevator at the middle school.
Yes.
How long has that been down?
It's been down for a little over a year, probably going into the second year. But as I said, according to our information, it is repaired now.
And what has been the problem?
A number of issues. Some of the problems was that even in the first contractor that won the bid for repairing did not finish the job. He found out that actually he didn't have the capacity he thought he did, so that was some time that lapsed before we found that out. Then we had some other issues that, for example, the bottom of the shaft needed to be drained of oil because supposedly some of the oil from the previous elevator had drained, and so they had to sump that out. And so there are also some issues even between the contractor, between the engineers, some communication issues. So it just took, time. Some things that we, of course, did not have control over, but that consumed quite a bit of time.
Do you know that first contractor that we did?
Offhand, no, I don't.
Do we know if we paid them?
Well,
No, we did not.
You didn't pay him?
No. The first contractor came in without a bid and gave us a price estimate. That price estimate meant that we had to go out for a bid. We went back out for a bid, and only one contractor bid on the project, so we had to award it.
So, Mr. Elijah, Mr. Thompson, do you know it is fixed now? It's correct, it's fixed?
Yes.
Are the people using the elevator?
You can't use the
Excuse-
elevator.
Wait a minute, wait. Where are you trying to go with this? Because Dr. Austin did say that they said it was fixed,
Right.
and we're waiting for the
Inspection.
Inspection. So, of
Inspection.
course, you know that no one can use the elevator until it's inspected, correct?
Okay, and do we
So
have a
what-
date?
is
Do we
that
have a
it?
date? I'm sorry, I'm talking to the superintendent.
No.
Do we have a date for
No.
the inspection?
Now, can you give Mr. Page a copy of that report, or?
I could send them what we have. We don't have an official report. We do have a summary of some information that was given to us by the engineer, and he's been, working with us, communicating with, actually, they've been setting up the plans to have it inspected. It has to come, that inspection has to come from the state as well. So he has been in touch with them. They were waiting to make sure that everything was done, but the state, can't rush them. They're going to have to come from Trenton, and I guess according to their schedule.
So you can send me a report on that?
Be glad to.
Thank you. No other
We're
questions?
going to start off with public portion, please.
Excuse me, Madam President, I wanted to ask the superintendent also.
Go ahead.
Dr. Austin, I received some information pertaining to the mold, can y'all hear me? Pertaining to the mold growing everywhere inside the schools. They saying that it's mushrooms growing inside the classrooms. People have took pictures, I do have it, I forgot to bring them in, as well as the toilet paper being molded, still being used, put out for use by both staff and students. Then it say leaks everywhere in all the buildings, walls, ceilings, etc. Staff are buying their own
Wait,
toilet.
excuse me, Ms. Morgan.
Uh-huh.
That,
List of stuff
the
that.
list of stuff that you have, you can talk to Dr. Austin, before we go
Separately.
into executive session
Okay.
or separate.
All right.
All right? So we're going to start with public portion. First, we have Ms. Owens.
Good evening, Superintendent, State Monitor, Madam President, and fellow board members.
Good
On
evening.
behalf of Lees Avenue School staff and on behalf of my principal and assistant principal, we actually have a letter that was sent to you in regards to inviting you to our Black History program featuring our Amistad curriculum that will take place Thursday, February 28th, 2019. I do, if I can, have the letters here that were sent on January 2nd, and we are looking forward to having a wonderful time. Thank you to our superintendent and state monitor for graciously getting back. We're looking forward to seeing you then, and we are very excited about what we're doing with Amistad, as well as combining it with our Black History program. So we have an excellent attendance that's going to be coming, and again, we just want to say thank you for your support, and make sure you receive an invitation in writing.
Can you tell, Madam President, can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Ms. Morgan.
What time did you say that was fair?
That will be at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock? Thank you.
Yes, 6 to 7:30, Thursday, February 28th, 2019.
Ms. Owens, you said those are the invites?
Yes.
Can you give them to Ben, please?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Next,
Excuse
we
me.
have Susan Sweeney.
Excuse me, Mr. President.
Wait, give me 1 minute.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Susan Swazzeni. I know it's a tough one to
I'm
say.
sorry.
I'm used to it. That's no problem. I thank you for the elevator update. That was one of my questions. I would like to know more about the mold report. My understanding was that about a month ago or so, Surf Pro was over in the middle school, and we haven't heard anything back as to what's going on with that. There was problems with the mold in the computer room and the moisture in the computer room, and apparently we're going to be sending somebody in there that's, well, along with our students, who, like, we have a lot of asthmatic students, but we have a teacher that's in line for that's asthmatic as well. And I was wondering if there was a mold report to be said for that room, and that wing for that matter.
We'll get back.
Go ahead, can you tell me?
I don't know what the stage of the investigation is. If it's still an investigation, that report probably would not be public information. If it's not an ongoing investigation, then it would be available through an Oprah request.
Well, I mean, it's a public building. It's not really, I mean, it's not really an investigation per se, it's a cleaning of the building. So, I mean.
It sounds like it's being attended to. It sounds like they had the professionals there, obviously to determine if there's any danger or not. I seriously doubt that they would have the room open if they detected that there's a danger. If the report, once the report is public, you certainly can have a copy of it. Any member of the public can have a copy of it.
And that would go through the administrator's office?
Yes, there's an Oprah form on the website. You can just follow that form, and within 7 days, they have to respond to you.
Oh, okay, so that should be available also. Okay, so now, also, thank you for, and I'm hoping you're voting to approve the repairs for the Chromebooks. That's been a fiasco. And the other one was staffing, that there's still issues with a substitute in the TV production classroom. Nothing is being done. Apparently, other teachers are pulling out students from that classroom knowing that nothing is being done, nothing is being taught, and yet, like, month by month, we come up here and tell you that this is a problem and we need to hire people. I mean, you know, just so you know on that one. Now, also, like, the last part of this is, like, seriously, I would like to think somewhere in your policy that says something about a level of civility on this board. People don't come here, people don't want to hear everybody bad-mouthing each other. I mean, that's just awful. You know, you represent Pleasantville. You are the go-between between our school and the community. I think we can notch it up a bit. You know? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Z.
Madam President, when can I ask some questions? I'd like to have some reports.
Okay, next we have Ms. Z.
So after that?
No, after Mr. Norris.
After Mr. Norris, okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carol Zubkov. I live at 102 Harvey Drive in Northfield. I am a teacher in the pre-K and early childhood department, and I've taught here 18 years and 16 years in early childhood in Boston. I would like to know how much time is being allotted to a speaker.
3
So
minutes.
3 minutes, okay. Well, I'm going to go.
Madam President, the policy says...
Excuse me, Mr. Page.
Madam President, the policy says
But
5 minutes.
excuse me, Mr. Page.
The policy says 5 minutes.
But, excuse me. One more outburst, Mr. Page, and
No, I
would
would
ask
like
for
to
you be
clarify
escorted out,
something
okay?
that I found out, and don't use this as my minutes, that it does say 5 minutes, but there's a line at the very bottom of that page that says it's to the discretion of the chairman to name the minutes for that someone can speak. Is that not true?
I didn't see that.
Okay, I was told that by the
So, Ms. Z,
policeman.
3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I would like to congratulate all the new members of the board and wish you all well in working to take Pleasantville schools forward. I've been told to keep it all positive, so there are no buts. on Leanne's as I ask a question and bring some items into focus. Congratulations also to Principal McGaney Guy for getting another grant for her school. She has successfully obtained over $80,000 for a new playground at the North Main Street School. It's amazing what people can do. Please clarify for me the requirements for the board members' attendance at these meetings and how long they are required to remain at the meeting. I have noticed that there have been times a board member was present for the first vote, then got up, greeted a couple of friends as he left the meeting. The meeting was barely getting started. What is the proper procedure or protocol? I don't want a long discussion. I only have 3 minutes. So you can answer that after I give my spiel. Second, each of you, I would like one of or two of people in the audience to pass these pictures out to the board members. These are copies of...
Excuse me, Ms. Z.
What?
Whatever you have, you could give it to Ben.
Well, I'd like you all to be able to look at them as I'm discussing this. Thank you. Each of you will receive a copy of photos of North Main Street trailers taken January 3rd, 2019. I also respectively have a larger poster here to make it easier for all to see the exterior of the trailers that were supposedly, quote, quote,
Ben, just
fixed.
hold on to those pictures, please.
And-
I'm sorry, Ms. Z. I'm
What?
sorry. Ben, just hold on to the pictures, please. Mr. Page, can you have a seat, please?
I'd like someone to hold this one up. This is a new fence they just put up, a split rail fence. This is at an early childhood complex. It's a split rail fence. The building was supposed to be fixed and rehabbed and made suitable for the youngest and most vulnerable of our children. They are only 3 and 4 years old. The interiors were finally done. Believe it or not, the children were taken out of these structures the second week of March 2018. That was last spring. They were displaced, dispersed to various classrooms at Leeds Avenue from March through June. They had to be bused, new teachers, new classmates in the middle of the year, and saw their regular teachers sporadically during the day. A lot of confusion and instability for a young child. Also, a lot of acting out and regression resulted. Consistency is a key to establish a sense of security and trust, especially for your first exposure to
Excuse me,
school.
Ms. Z. Your 3 minutes is up.
Is there anyone who would allow me to use that?
Oh, we're not doing that, Ms. Z.
Okay.
Madam
Your
President.
3 minutes is
Madam
up.
President,
Mr. Page, please, I'm
like-
talking to Ms. Z, please.
I would like for her to
Please,
finish.
that's it.
Dr. Austin,
I
I
mean,
would like
Ms.
to have a
Z,
full
your time's
report
up.
of what they're given today.
Excuse me, Mr. Page. Your time's up,
Dr.
Ms. Z.
Alston,
Excuse me, Ms. Z, can you have a seat? Your
I
time's
will have a
up.
seat. I'd like you to take these issues
Excuse me,
to your
Ms. Z.
closed-door session.
You're out of line, Ms. Z.
Okay.
You can have a seat, please.
This is truly pathetic. I am,
Can you please
You're gonna-
have a seat?
Madam President.
Excuse me,
Madam
Mr.
President.
Officer,
you just tie our hands
please.
instead of facilitating things.
Thank you, Ms. Z. Next, we have Tim Newkirk. Tim Newkirk. Next, we have Calvin Rice.
Good evening, Board. Calvin Rice, 143 Brighton Avenue, Pleasantville. Been in the district for 20 years. Friday, I got another letter stating that I had to come back here Tuesday for grounds of termination. Yesterday and today, tried to reach out, tried to see if I can get into my file so I can do my due diligence with whatever I'm being accused of. I was turned away. Again, nobody's giving me any answers. I know last time we were here, you guys said that we couldn't talk about personnel issues during public forum. but without anybody coming to me or any of the other people that were involved or knew of the situations, and you're still sending me a letter saying I'm getting terminated. No one came and talked to me, no one talked to my administrator, no one talked to any of the people. You're going off of, I guess, whatever you want to say you're going off of, but without any paperwork from me or anybody else, without me giving my side of the story, again, we're right back to square one with me asking, how is it that I'm being recommended for termination and nobody's giving me probable cause? I haven't harmed a child, never have, never will. I'm just trying to figure this out because, again, like I told you last time, when I go to work, I'm walking on eggshells because, again, when I get a call from my supervisor, I don't know if it's to check to see what's going on with the building or I'm being penalized or somebody's writing a report saying that they want me fired or they don't like the way I'm doing things. To me, I just need some clarification. I know last time I was here, you said we don't talk about personal issues during public forum. But again, I wasn't given enough time. I got my letter late Friday. Yesterday, we were short on staff, so I had to do the building basically by myself. And I didn't get a chance to get a letter to Elijah to talk in executive session.
Mr. Rice, you can address the board during executive session today. If you wish, that item can be carried to after executive session. You can have the opportunity to address the board at executive session.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Joseph Stratton.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was here on last year. Some of you are new. My situation is a safety issue. I've talked with Dr. Thompson about it before. I've had a meeting with him, and I was told that the situation was a bus situation. My daughter and several kids were being picked up at the new buildings that are there on Main Street, the apartment buildings there. The buses were coming in picking up our children in the parking lot. At the beginning, they were not. We requested that they be picked up. Last year, they were being picked up in the parking lot where there was no safety issue. Not only the bus for the charter school that my daughter is on was picked up, there are also 3 other buses that are public school buses for Pleasantville, and there are also 2 other buses that are for those that have disability issues that are being picked up and taken to school. This year, when school started, all the buses are being picked up except for the one charter school bus that my daughter is on. We don't know why. Now that bus is my children are being picked up on Washington and 3rd Avenue, where there is more congestion because you have not only teachers needing a place to park, but new parents now needing a place to park while we're waiting for a bus. Washington Avenue, traffic is very high on Washington Avenue. In the meetings, I was told that we have to check with quote-unquote Trenton government. We need people to come in and check on the issue. I have not received any responses whatsoever as far as getting our children picked back up in the parking lot where other school buses are picking up children where there is no safety issue. We don't need a crossing guard in the parking lot. But when our kids are being dropped off between 4:10 and 4:20, there is no crossing guard when my daughter gets off the bus. This is about safety for our children. I've requested that when we were moved into the parking lot, within 3 days, our bus was moved into that parking lot because a letter was sent to the bus company to have them pick up in the parking lot. In the beginning of the school year, I asked for the same thing, and I have not received anything. I've been to meetings. I have not received anything from anyone telling me that my phone number was there. I have letters from the parents that ride the bus. I have signatures from the parents that say, we would like this bus picked up there. It's in the exact same place that other school buses kids are being picked up and taken to Pleasantville schools. What is the problem with one bus coming through that same parking lot that's taking them to a charter school in Galloway. I don't care about issues if there's a charter school issue versus a public school issue. That is not the case. Safety is the case for me and my children, my child. Throughout in this country, there are more tragedies happening because of unsafe environments. When you have overcrowding for buses, overcrowding for people, an accident is waiting to happen. We have children leaving cars trying to get to their buses where they can accidentally dart out into a street. A parking lot is a whole lot more safer than a street where there's only one crossing guard handling traffic going in multiple directions. There's no police support. You have parents trying to get into the school, trying to leave the school at the same time. Not only my bus is being picked up, and the bus literally rides by where we live at. Where we live at. And the complaints that I've been getting from the driver said, oh, I don't want to drive in that parking lot. Wait a minute, you're licensed to drive in a lot. Why are you fighting a safety issue? You don't need to pay for a security crossing guard to be there. So what I'm asking for is that our children be picked up in a safer environment in a parking lot where it's very easy to control from one bus, because you have 3 buses that are picking up children, taking them to Pleasantville schools. Then you have 2 other buses where children have disability situations, and they do not have any problem whatsoever of their children being picked up. Why is this one bus now being directed to be picked up in front of a school where there's
Mr.
heavy
Stratton,
congestion?
did you want to?
And so I'd like to have
Did you wanna
something
say
done
something?
about that as soon as possible, please.
Mr. Stratton, good evening.
Yes.
As you recall, you and I did have several conversations about that issue. And I took some steps to investigate the concern that you had. We do have bus routes that have to be submitted and approved at the beginning of the year and before the children actually begin. And once they are approved, then it's not a matter of us just switching. I got with the transportation director. I also received communication at my request from the police department within the city. In addition, our director of security, Mr. Adcock, who was here, assisted in us trying to determine the feasibility of what you wanted. And the conclusion from all of those was that the safety hazard you described did not exist, and that it wasn't, your request was not a compelling reason for us to try to make all of those changes. Now, as I said, I did communicate that to you, and I actually did write you once or twice concerning what I had found out. So that's where that is now. It's not that we were ignoring you. We really did take some steps, but the conclusion was that it was not the safety concern that you expressed. I don't know if Mr. Tompkins, you had any other?
No, we spoke, and the issue was we were dropping off kids in front, and the stop is in front of Washington Avenue, correct?
Yes, it is.
In front of the
and
Washington
Third.
Avenue School, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We drop off kids there in the morning, we drop off kids there in the night, in the evening. What you're basically implying is that we drop off our kids, and they're all our kids, even the ones that go to charter school. We drop off these kids, but that one bus becomes a safety issue, the rest aren't. I really don't understand that. But they're dropped off at Washington Avenue School, where there is a crossing guard, where there are teachers, where there's staff, and all these kids are being dropped off there. So, I'm not going to make a choice between one or the other. All the kids are being dropped off at that stop. So me personally, I just don't understand why there's a safety issue with one bus and not with the others.
Well, I'm not saying there is no safety issue with the other buses, because in actuality, those same buses, there are 2 other buses that are being dropped off at the exact same spot. Those 2 buses literally drive by where the parents live at. I've talked to the parents. They live in the same complex area where we live at. They pass by where the children live at in that exact same parking lot. All 3 buses that have been changed they live right there in that exact same area. Why pick up and drop off in front of a school where you have, 8 families, 9 families of children being picked up that live in the same area? Now they're walking up a street, all kinds of weather, anywhere, and these issues are safety issues because, number one, you have people who are not driving 25 miles an hour in there. There have been plenty of times I've heard from the security guard, and the security guard says, hey, I have to literally hold the stop sign like this for people to slow down so the kids can walk across the street. This is what she's telling me. She's even written that in a letter, okay, that I did have submitted. Everything that I'm speaking about is an issue that I have given letters for. I can get copies of those letters, and again, I can get more information from the crossing guard or from the parents about what's going on. So it's not just the 1 bus, there are multiple buses. There are actually 4 buses that are being picked up right there and dropped off. And it is a safety issue riding up 4th Avenue because of
I'm not-
overcrowdedness.
And trust me, I'm not trying to be confrontational.
I understand.
But we have kids that walk down Route 9. We have kids that walk across Delilah Road. You're basically saying that, I think, to your complex is 2-3 blocks
Yes, sir.
distance, as opposed to what makes it different from the others that are walking longer distances. Me personally, I don't understand what your issue is. However, I'm open-minded. I can review that with you personally and see if we can come up with a solution.
I would have no problem with meeting you with that to come up with a better solution.
I have a question.
Yes, you may ask.
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Stratton.
I seen you before at the other
Excuse me,
meetings.
Mr. Page.
I have a question.
Okay, so what do? You have a question?
Ms. Thomas, I have a question. I have a question.
Mr. Stratton, I guess like Mr. Tompkins said, that the superintendent and Mr. Tompkins will meet up with you just to go over, I guess, the final report? Okay?
I have a question.
Okay, just hold your question.
No, I have it for the gentleman.
Just hold your question.
Why? Why? I have a
Thank you,
question.
Mr. Stratton.
No, Mr. Stratton, I want to just say this.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton. Go ahead, Mr. Christmas.
Good evening, all. I'm sure you wonder why I'm standing here. I'm standing here because the children that go to school at the charter school, no longer St. Pete's, all over, they are the city's children. That's one reason why the crossing guards are hired by the city. So this has become a safety issue for all of our children. It has become, and I'm the safety chair for the council, so I'm sure you folks are going to take care of this, but I'm going to have to, it'll be reported, the school already is aware, but we also want to make sure that the safety is there for all the children. So that's the only reason, okay? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Christmas. Next, we have Ernestine Smith.
Can I ask my question, Madam President?
Not at this time.
When,
Ms. Smith?
Good evening to the board,
Good evening.
to the staff, and to this community. I want you to ask 2 questions from this board. I am part of an organization that's called the Coalition for a Safe Community. I want to pass some information out to you, and I want you to look at the flyer, and then I will ask the question.
Ms. Ms. Ernestine, you can give them all to Ben, please.
The reason why I wanted you to look at the flyer is because the children and their parents are part of Pleasantville residents. I like to call them the village. We expunged 636 residents in Pleasantville. We are partners with the prosecutor's office, Superior Courts, Judge Mendez. We are partners with the mayor and the chief of police in Atlantic City, Pleasantville, Egg Harbor City, and Galloway, and also Cape May. We wanted to take this opportunity to go to all of the schools and to make sure that we could reach the parents to help them to get their records expunged. If you have parents with stability, then they will send their children also with stability to come into your schools and to come into a building that provides education. So I am asking you at this particular time, could we distribute the flyers in your school? Starting with Pleasantville, we will be going to Atlantic City, Oak Crest, and Cape May as well. Thanks. That's number one. That is for the parents.
You have
Ms.
another,
Smith, I think they're going to need to review it and then refer it to Dr. Alston.
That would be fine. Also with that, there's another question that I have to ask as well. We're going to work along with the children, the juveniles who needs to have their records expunged, along with Judge Mabin. So that would be the next flyer. So I'm asking if the superintendent would take in consideration about both of the flyers. Thank you.
thank you. That's it for public portion. Mr. N- Go ahead, Steve.
Board members, community, I'm here as, my name's Steve Young. I'm here on behalf of the National Action Network South Jersey chapter, and that means the whole South Jersey. Represent Reverend Al Sharpton, and I'm here on a very critical issue right now, and we will be coming back on other issues. But this one is talking about 5.3 in reference to Calvin Rice. We are here to advocate on his behalf to assure that there's fairness and equal opportunity for everyone. But this issue is very important that your policy and procedure is done correctly and done right. And we are here to advocate on his behalf or anyone else's behalf to make sure that is done. So we were very surprised to know, and I was very surprised by Dr. Alston, to have this recommended at this time without the due process. So moving forward, we would like to meet with you, Dr. Alston, and as well as the state monitor here. Okay, well as with you, to talk about issues going forward, to make sure this district, as well as South Jersey, is done in an equal, balanced, and fair way. Thank you.
Steve, I'm sorry. Do you have a business card?
No, I do not. But I can be more than glad to
Yeah,
give
if you
you all
could just give
information.
Ben your information.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Question.
All right.
Madam President, okay.
Wait a minute, Mr. Barkley. Go ahead, Mr. Norris.
I have a few questions. First of all, I like to be here at the public session portion because I signed up for it, and it seems like I'm being denied that right. So I signed up for public session. I was the first one on the list, I'd like to be heard.
Excuse me, Mr. Norris, your name is crossed off of here.
No, I didn't cross that off. I need to be heard.
This is a black pen and I'm working with a blue
Listen,
pen.
this is type of the buffoonery that's going on.
No,
I signed
no,
up.
excuse
I-
me,
no,
Mr.
no, ma'am, no,
Norris.
ma'am. I signed up.
No,
I was the
no.
first on the list. I should be able to be
Excuse me, Mr.
able
Norris.
to speak
All right, Mr.
during public session, and I'm not
Mr.
being able
Norris,
to
you're
allow
out
to
of
be speak.
line.
No, you are out of line.
you're out-
You are out of line.
This police
You can call the
officer,
police all you
please,
want.
please.
I should be given the same
Excuse
right as
me, Mr.
others to
Norris.
be heard at the public session, and I wasn't.
Mr. Police Officer?
You are the police officer. I'm a board member now.
Right.
Mr.
but
Norris,
And you are,
if-
listen,
if
I was,
you- if
listen, there was
I'ma give you a
someone.
warning as well.
No,
If you have another
I'm allowed to
outburst,
vote during
you
public, I'm
will
allowed
be
to talk during
removed.
public, remove
You
me.
will
I was
be
allowed to speak during public session. I signed up. I didn't cross my name out. Who crossed my name out? Who crossed my name
You
out?
can't do that. We're in a meeting. You can't do that. We are in a
How
meeting.
can she cross my name out? How can she cross my name out? I didn't
Sir,
cross
I
my
saw-
name out.
I saw the
I should be
form
given due
when it came
process
up
as
here.
everyone else
The first
to be
two
able to
names were crossed
speak
off the
at the
list.
public like everyone else has. I'm not afforded due process. I want my due process, and I want it now. I signed up, I didn't cross it out.
Police officer, I don't know,
I'm not out of order.
Can
I
he-
need to speak.
Oh, no, you're out of
I
order.
need to speak.
Can he be removed?
No, I need to speak.
No, he
Can
cannot.
he
We
be
are
I need
in a
to speak.
board meeting.
I need to speak.
We are in a.
How come
board-
everybody else is giving due process to speak at public sessions? My name was crossed out. I, Rick Norris, did not cross my name out. Someone crossed it out.
Excuse me.
And I need to speak.
All right.
Give me due process.
Let him speak.
What?
Let him speak.
No, I'll take care of this. I'll
No,
do
no,
what I
you-
have to do.
you-
Go ahead, Mr. Barkley.
All right, thank you very much.
Hold up. Hold up. So you're not giving me a chance to speak?
Mr. Barkley?
No, I'm going to speak.
Mr. Barkley?
Okay, all right.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to speak. Mr. Barkley, I apologize, but I want due process like everyone else.
Madam President, as a board member, I'm
Mr.
asking.
Barkley.
Allow me to
No,
speak.
we do have-
Board
you-
members.
I should be able to speak
Robert's
at a
Rules of
public
Order.
session meeting.
You're both out of order.
No, no, we're not.
You did
you-
adopt
You
Robert's
are
Rules.
out of order, lawyer.
No, I'm not, sir.
Yes, you
You
are.
only
No,
speak
I'm not,
when
sir.
you're asked to speak,
No,
sir.
I'm not, sir.
Yes, you are. I need to speak.
We hire you,
That's correct, sir.
so you speak when
Due
you ask
process
to
is not
speak.
given to me.
First of
This
all,
is the board member asking.
I
You might as- you can hit
need
that
to
tower all you
know
want.
if
I ain't
these
going
two
anywhere.
can be removed.
No.
That's all I need to
No,
know.
I'm in a,
No, I need to speak.
I took an oath.
So did I. I need to speak.
We
Just like
all
everybody
do.
else. And you're gonna ask me to be
Operate-
quiet? I don't think so.
Operate from it. I took an oath, and my oath was to honor all the rules.
What is
And follow
this?
board
Is this
policy.
a meeting? What is this?
So let him speak. No, let him speak. He has the floor.
No, Mr.
No.
Barkley has the
Mr. Barkley,
floor.
step away from me, please.
Oh. What?
Mr. Norris has the floor.
I have the floor. I should be able to speak.
Mr. Barkley, you
So
can
we're trying to
speak.
suppress the truth. Let me speak. I'm going to keep interrupting. Let me speak.
Mr. Barkley.
Mr. Norris, I am going to speak.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
You done, Mr. Barkley? Or-
Haven't even started, but I need to speak. Mrs. Thomas, need to speak. I'm given the opportunity and the right to speak. I should be heard by the public and by the board.
I can hear you with the mic, Mr. Barkley.
I need to speak.
Let's move the agenda.
No, no,
Elijah.
you can't do that. This is what I'm talking about.
Elijah.
This is what I'm talking about. We have an organized crime family running this board, and nothing's been done. It needs to stop right now. Like I said, our organized crime families running this board. It's time for a change.
I would suggest we take a break and discuss this. Why don't we just
Yeah,
calm
I think
down
that's-
and discuss this and arrange for
Due
everyone to have
process should be
time.
given to me, Mr. Lawyer.
That's right. Well, I'm a board member too.
Madam President, can we take a 15-minute
District's falling
recess?
apart.
Sure.
To the board, to the public, the board is taking a 15-minute recess, and we will be back at 6:17.
Is there, I make a motion that we
Can I
take a,
get a motion to
Thank you.
take a break? All in favor? Aye.
thank you,
Anyone
thank
opposed?
you.
No.
Thank you. Robert Rules of Order.
We don't have 5. Madam President, the time is 6:20.
Can I get a motion to open up the meeting?
You didn't need a motion to begin with.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just for the record, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Norris, prior to being sworn in tonight, had signed up as a member of the public in order to speak. I assume that after he was sworn in, someone had crossed off his name. It was no one up here, and it was not Mr. Norris that crossed off his name. So there was a misunderstanding. Any board member can speak as a member of the public. They can go to the mic, and they can have their 3 minutes, just like any member of the public can. So at that point, I believe that Mr. Norris will be permitted his chance to make his comments. And if you would make it from the microphone, the reason being that when you're making comments as a member of the public, you're speaking as a private citizen, not as a member of the board. Thank you.
So we ready to stop in case personnel.
Good evening, Board. My name is Rick Norris. I'm coming to this mic as a public citizen, not as a board member.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Here's the history of myself being a part of the Pleasantville Board of Education. In 2016, I won at the polls as a potential board member. The Pleasantville Board of Education swore me in January of 2016. During the first week of January 2016, I was told by the then interim superintendent, Mr. Anderson, and the business administrator that I probably wouldn't need to pay for my fingerprints, since my prints are archived as a teacher when I was employed for the city of Pleasantville and now currently employed by the city of Atlantic City. Suddenly, in June of 2016, when I made a motion pertaining to the board president for a vote of a no confidence because of her conduct of unbecoming, there was a conspiracy to vote me off the board. I was told that I couldn't remain on the board until I got fingerprinting, in which I did. There was a meeting discussing my removal in the summer of 2016 between the months of June and July. I showed the board my receipt as proof of my prints being done. In the meantime, the board president called 3 meetings in which I was not permitted to attend. The board made a vote to vote me off since I had missed 3 board meetings. This is food for thought. These were not regularly scheduled meetings. Meanwhile, I was totally disappointed, but the firing me didn't waver. So in November 2018, I ran for the Pleasantville Board of Education again and was one of the top vote getters. On January 4th, 2019, the new board members were sworn in, but I was denied that privilege. One of the board members asked the question, why isn't Rick Norris being sworn in? He met all the deadline and he fulfilled all the requirements and paperwork. He wasn't given that right as we were. The board lawyer and the board finance officer failed to acknowledge that I had all my proof, which is my paperwork, in order, and my privileges were denied. I wasn't given due process. Tonight, I am presenting these documents to the board and the public that now they can understand the history of me not having my paperwork in order. As you can see, the residents of the city of Pleasantville is witnessing how an organized crime family can run the board of ed in this town. It's time for a change, and the time is now. Lastly, you, as a board member, need to revisit the reorganization of electing board officers, because I was denied the privilege to participate in voting and possibly an opportunity to be a board member or officer. Thank you.
You can have a seat, Mr. Norris.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Page, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a question. Actually, I have a motion I want to make, but I have to wait till Miss
But you had a question, right?
Morgan comes back.
Do you have a question?
I have a question and I have a motion
So
that's
go
going to
ahead
be made.
with your question.
The question is, with Rick Norris not being allowed to be sworn in at the last meeting, the attorney, Mr. Brenner, I'm sorry. The attorney Brenner was called up by the Business Administrative
I'm
Board
sorry, Mr.
Secretary.
Page, what's your question?
I'm getting ready to get to my question. And my question to the attorney was that Mr. Norris had everything in order, all
And
his
what's your
paperwork.
question now? What
Well,
question do you have now?
I'm getting ready to tell you.
Well, go ahead.
If you won't let me finish.
No, just go to the question.
So, when Mr. Brenner asked me, well, what's the issue
What's
of
the
him not
question,
being sworn in?
Mr. Page?
I'm getting to it.
No, I mean,
I'm
all
getting
that
to
other
it.
stuff, no. What's your question?
My question is to Mr. Brenner. When you asked me what was the issue of Mr. Norris not being sworn in, I said that the law does not state that they have to wait for, or the board secretary has to wait for a decision coming from the criminal justice department or criminal history department. And you said,
What's the question? Not he say, she say. What is your question? Or do you really have a question?
I'm getting ready to.
No, you keep saying, I'm getting ready, I'm getting ready.
I asked him the
What is your
question.
question?
And he said, let me talk to the board secretary.
No, your question.
Now, the attorney should have addressed the board in saying, if we're going to vote for the officers, president and vice, do it in an interim, or in an interim period, so that if Mr. Norris finds out that he was entitled to be sworn in that day, he would be able to participate in being nominated for office or voting for anyone in office. That was not given to him. Okay? But the attorney could have just said that to the board. So now, I'm making a motion that we reconsider the vote for president and vice.
You're
And
out
do it
of, now
over.
you're out of order, Mr.
No?
Page.
No?
You're out of order.
All I need is a second.
You're out of order.
I'm not out of order.
There's no motion, and
Rick
you're
sec-
out of order.
Rick seconded.
You're out of order, Mr. Page.
To the attorneys,
Mr. Tompkins,
I have a
We're
right,
going to move the agenda.
I have a right because I was.
You're out of order, Mr. Page.
No. Let me
You're
finish.
out of order. I don't.
Motion's been made as
You're
the
out of
second.
order.
Motion's been made as the
No,
second.
there's no motion.
I made it. Second.
No, there's no motion.
To the attorney, this is very serious.
The
This is
agenda
very
is
serious.
controlled by the chair. Okay, there's an agenda, there are motions listed. The chair's responsibility is to move the agenda. It was an out of
I understand
order.
that.
It was not a proper motion, Mr. Page.
Is not, when will it be a proper motion?
Thank you,
Suggest that
Mr.
you
Page.
submit it for the next agenda.
Thanks, Mr. Page. We're going to move the agenda, Mr. Tompkins.
Motion's been made, it's been second. Okay. Don't call the vote.
Here we go. There we go.
Robert Rules of Order, I have a right to do
No,
that.
you're out of order.
At the next board
You're
meeting,
out of order.
since I was on the prevailing side,
Excuse
I
me,
have a right to
Mr.
bring it back.
Page.
I'm
Like,
just-
enough is
I'm just addressing it
enough.
to the attorney.
Excuse me, where's the police officer? He left? Can you have a conversation with this man? Or something? Or no?
Motion's been made in second.
No? No?
Motion's been made in
Continue
second.
with the agenda,
I'm
please.
sorry.
Motion's
The
been made in
police
second.
officer is speaking.
Shut the board meeting down so you guys can discuss it in a private session.
No, we can't do that.
Motion's been made in second. I'm
But
asking,
you can't pull him to the side and okay.
No, you can't.
All right, that's all I
This is not a
wanted to
police
know.
issue.
motion's been made in second. I'm asking for the
Well-
call a vote or the question.
Excuse
Based
me.
on,
Wait a minute. What you about to do?
based on the attorney ready to go forward with the
Okay,
agenda.
go ahead.
Based on the recommendation of the attorney, we move the agenda forward.
Motion's been made in second.
Okay.
Robert Rules of Order.
Excuse me. Oh,
Robert
no.
Rules of Order.
Jim, what do
Jim,
What?
I have a right.
Page, you were a former board president. You know there's an agenda and you have to follow the agenda. You cannot make a wild motion off of the floor, have a second, and expect to be called for a vote. You're out of order, sir.
It happens
You
all
are
the
out
time.
of order, sir.
Oh, raising your voice at me?
Yes, I am, sir. You
Okay.
don't seem to understand anything else. You're out of order, sir.
I'm not out of order.
Can he be?
Excuse me? I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
We need to handle it now.
Yeah, we need to handle it right now. The motion been made, has been second. I'll call for a recess, so we can talk about this.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Tompkins.
I'm calling for a recess. Motion been made and second.
Excuse me.
On the floor.
You're out of order, Mr.
I'm
Page.
not out of order.
You are.
I'm not out of
You
order.
are out of order.
Call for a
ahead, Mr.
break
Tompkins.
so we can talk to the
The
attorneys.
minutes approved for December 11, 2018.
Board Secretary,
Can I get a motion to approve
I'm
the
talking,
minutes?
the attorney has advised me that we have to move forward the agenda. That's from our attorney that represents you and the board. That's what they're saying. That's what he's saying.
but a motion's been made and second. We have Robert Rules of Order.
Yes, we're not going to keep going back and
I
forth.
said, let's make a motion. on it.
Right, he's out of order, and I don't know how many times, if we cannot, we can?
Robert Rules of Order.
Can he
I'm on the
be
prevailing
removed?
side.
If he be removed, we still won't have a quorum.
Can't make me leave, we won't have a quorum. So I'm asking, can we break for a couple minutes? I want to talk to
No,
the attorneys.
we're not breaking.
Motion been made and
Can you
seconded.
just be
Robert Rules of Order.
respectful, so we
We
can move
approve Robert
forward?
Rules of Order. It's been made and it's been seconded. I made it and Norris seconded
Mr.
it.
Tompkins, let's see how far we can go.
And then we do consent agenda.
Okay,
No.
all right. Since that's what we're going to do, I'm asking if
With the-
personnel,
With the exception,
Yeah.
one item on personnel.
what's that, 5.3? 5.3.
Jerome.
Ms. Kraus is leaving.
Ms. Crouch,
Now we don't have a quorum.
Ms. Couch is leaving. We don't have a quorum for a board meeting.
All right.
That was advised. All right. Set up.
Motion made and seconded. That's where we are. Motion made and seconded. Robert Rules of Order.
So, this thing is going here later, Calvin, next meeting.
Schedule no board meeting?
Do we ever have a motion to quit?
No motion, then you don't have to make a motion.